Hey there, English learners. Welcome to ML's English Podcast, where grammar gets easier, clearer, and a lot more fun. Today's lesson is all about the noun's job in a sentence. We'll break down what we call the noun's case, and more importantly, how you can use it to build way stronger sentences. So grab your notebook, stay focused, and let's dive right in. So, have you ever felt like nouns just kind of move around in a sentence for no reason? Like you can just drop them anywhere? Well, it might seem that way sometimes, but in English, every single noun actually has a specific job to do, and that job is what gives the sentence its meaning. So let's figure out exactly what those roles are. And here's the key term for today. It's called case. Now, I know, that sounds super technical, but don't worry about it. It's really just the official grammar name for a noun's job. Its function inside that sentence. That's it. Simple as that. All right, so let's get started with the foundation. We're going to look at the two most fundamental jobs a noun can have. Seriously, almost every sentence you'll ever write or say uses these. So getting this part right, that's the first huge step. Okay, so the two biggest jobs for a noun can be boiled down to this: the doer versus the receiver. It's that simple. The subject, that's our doer, is the one performing the action. And the object, our receiver, is the one having the action done to it. And hey, pay close attention to the questions here. They are your secret weapon for telling these two apart. Let's take a closer look at our first case, the nominative. That's just a fancy name for the subject. So in the sentence, John threw a stone, ask yourself, who is doing the throwing? Let's use that question we just talked about. Who threw the stone? The answer, of course, is John. So John is our subject. He's the doer. And now for the other side of the coin, the receiver. This is the accusative case, or what we usually just call the object. In the sentence, the horse kicked the boy. Who's on the receiving end of that kick? Remember the question to ask after the verb. The horse kicked whom? The boy. So the boy is the object. See how that works? It's a pretty neat trick. Okay, so why does any of this matter? Well, this is absolutely crucial. The horse kicked the boy tells a very different story from the boy kicked the horse, right? In English, word order literally creates meaning. The order of the nouns tells you exactly who did what to whom. Once you master this, you have complete control over the story you're telling. Okay, awesome. So we've got the doer and the receiver down. Now let's add another layer to our sentence blueprint. Let's talk about the person who benefits from the action. Let's start with a really simple sentence. Rama gave a ball. Okay, so here we have our subject, Rama, the verb, gave, and the direct object, a ball. Rama did the giving, and the ball, well, it received the action of being given. Super straightforward. But wait, who did Rama give the ball to? Now watch this. We can add a person in there. Rama gave Hari a ball. See how we just slid Hari in right after the verb? Hari is the beneficiary here. He's the one who benefits from the action. He didn't get the action done to him, the ball did, but he's the person the action was done for. And that, my friends, is our indirect object. And this is where it gets really cool, because it shows the flexibility you have as a writer. You can put the indirect object right after the verb, like, I bought Rama a ball. Or you can say the exact same thing using a preposition like to or for. For example, I bought a ball for Rama. Same meaning, just a different structure. And guess what? Both are 100% grammatically perfect. All right, let's keep building this blueprint. We've covered doing and receiving, and doing for someone. But what about showing that something belongs to someone? Well, that's where our next job, the possessive case, comes into play. It's a simple question, right? Whose umbrella is this? But this question gets right to the heart of what we're talking about. When we want to know about ownership, this is exactly the kind of question we ask. And the answer gives us that special little tool we need. This is Ram's umbrella. See that? That little apostrophe S? That is the key. It's a tiny signal, but it tells us all about ownership or possession. It's the umbrella that belongs to Ram. But here's something you might not know. The possessive case is actually way more powerful than just showing who owns what. It can show authorship, like Shakespeare's plays. It can show where something came from, its origin, like the president's speech. It can even describe relationships like a mother's love or a purpose, like a children's playground. Heck, it can even show duration, like a week's holiday. It's a seriously versatile little tool to have in your grammar toolkit. So using the possessive is clearly powerful, but there are a few rules you gotta get right, especially when it comes to plurals. This is where people sometimes get tripped up. So let's make sure we get these rules down cold. Don't worry, it really just comes down to 3 simple steps. You can think of it like a checklist. Step 1, for a singular noun, like one boy, you just add an apostrophe and an S. The boy's book. Done. Step 2, for a plural noun that already ends in S, like girls, all you do is add an apostrophe after the S. The girls' school. And finally, step 3, for a plural noun that does not end in S, like men, you go back to adding an apostrophe S. The men's club. See? Pretty easy when you break it down. Okay, now heads up, because this next one is a super common point of confusion, so let's clear it up right now. Let's talk about shared ownership. If 2 people own one thing together, like Kareem and Salim's bakery, it's one business they co-own. The apostrophe only goes on the very last name. But if they each have their own separate things, like Raja Rao's novels and Arcane Orion's novels, then each name gets its own apostrophe S. That little detail makes a big difference in meaning. All right, we are at the final piece of our sentence blueprint. This last one is a really neat technique that lets you add extra info to your sentences in a way that's super elegant and efficient. The official term is noun in apposition. And the word apposition itself gives us a huge clue. It literally means placing near. And that's all it is. You're just placing one noun or a noun phrase right next to another noun to describe it or explain it better. Let's look at this example here. Rama made 50 runs. Okay, that's a perfectly good sentence. But which Rama are we talking about? Maybe there are 2 Ramas on the team. So by adding our captain right after his name, we clarify exactly who we mean. That phrase, our captain, is an apposition to Rama. It's such a simple, clean way to slot in some really important information. And there you have it. That's the complete blueprint. So the next time you sit down to write, just ask yourself these simple questions. Does my sentence clearly show who is doing what for whom and to what? Mastering this is really the key to building strong, precise sentences. Thanks for tuning in to ML's English podcast. I hope today's lesson helped you take one more step toward mastering English. If you enjoyed it, please do like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you'll never miss a new episode. Have questions or grammar topics you'd like to learn next? Drop a comment below. I'm always listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and stay confident.